This is part 6 of a 7-part series on continuing the conversation about the proposed rewrite of Article 2 of the Unitarian Universalist Bylaws. In part 6, we will tackle, head-on, the question we hear so often. Why does this matter to us?
I have a question. Why does the Article 2 rewrite matter to us? What the UUA does never seems to affect what we do in our congregation. If we don't like what they say, we can just ignore them.
We hear that a lot. What happens in Boston stays in Boston, right?
That's the whole point. What happens in Boston stays in Boston. The UUA thinks that's the problem. Solving that problem is the UUA's goal.
What happened in Pittsburgh stayed in Pittsburgh. What happened in Portland stayed in Portland. The UUA wants to see follow-through.
Things like actions of immediate witness pass at General Assembly, but that doesn't mean the congregations make those AIWs their top priorities.
Some AIWs promote controversial actions like defunding the police in 2020, or abolishing ICE in 2018, or asking congregations to stop calling the police in 2020.
Wow, I didn't know about any of those action of immediate witness initiatives. And, frankly, all of that seems so far removed from what I get out of being in UU.
Which is precisely the point. AIWs are not binding. Congregations can ignore them if they have different priorities. This is very frustrating to the activists in UU. Defunding the police was part of an AIW that got an 82% vote of approval in 2020 and then was part of an AIW in 2021 that got 99% approval. 99%. A call to abolish the Immigration and Customs Enforcement Department got 90% approval in 2018 and was part of an AIW again in 2020. The AIW in 2020 also called for congregations to choose not to involve police departments and deactivating security systems that mobilize police response when triggered. Again, that was approved by 82% of delegates. The fact that many UU members never heard about any of this is precisely the point. This frustration is maybe epitomized by an AIW from back in 2015. An AIW supporting the Black Lives Matter movement included a call for prison abolition. After a very contentious debate, that call was expanded a little to clarify that it was a call to replace the current prison system with a system that is more just and equitable. After such an emotional debate, it was very frustrating that what happened in Portland in 2015 stayed in Portland. The activist energy at GA did not have much carryover into the congregations after GA.
Centralized control can simply mean that if 2/3 of the delegates to GA approve something, every congregation has to make it a priority.
Of course, the missing piece to the puzzle is how to hold congregations accountable for following through on initiatives like these in the future.
The only thing that makes sense is if the UUA itself is assigned the responsibility for enforcing the new overall covenants.
All we can do at this point is make an educated guess about how accountability would work if Article 2 is approved. What we do know is that the charge to the bylaws renewal team references 3 studies that recommended significant changes in UU's governance structure. The charge highlights calls to make significant changes to the role of covenant in UU governance. Since covenant has little or no role in UU governance right now, this seems to be a clue that the new covenants in Article 2 are a really big deal. We also want to point out that the bylaws renewal team charge specifically asks for the rest of the bylaws to provide accountability for our anti-racist and anti-oppressive commitments. Some kind of accountability enforcement mechanism is probably going to be added. We just don't know what.
Be sure to watch part 7, where we will summarize all of the hard conversations about this proposal that need to happen. Deciding what UU is going to be about is in our hands. Now is the time to continue the conversation. Let's be wise and prudent caretakers of this religion.